Okay. Hello, everybody. I want to, like everyone else, just welcome you to UNT. Um, and I am Tony Carey. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Political Science. And I've been recruited to host our breakout session on affinity groups. I also happen to be part of the leadership team for the Black Faculty Network, and so I'll be speaking on that group's behalf. Um, in the interest of time, I just want to first sort of just comment loosely about affinity groups. Um, so one, the intention of the affinity groups is to offer mentorship and support for faculty here on campus who share similar backgrounds, interests, and purposes. A lot of those affinity groups actually center on supporting and providing mentorship for traditionally or historically underrepresented groups among faculty members. However, I do want to emphasize that uh, group membership is not a criterion for participation. You can actually participate even if you don't share that group identity. Um, so, for instance, for the Black Faculty Network, we've had uh, a number of people who have participated in our events and have sought out mentorship who did not, you know, subjectively identify as Black. So that is certainly, uh, not a prerequisite for participation. So the plan for today is we have representatives from a number of affinity groups on campus. I'm going to give each of them, I would say we probably should each take a few minutes, no more than 5, given our time constraints, to talk about our groups. And then I'll open it up for questions if there are questions from anybody. I'm going to propose we go in a particular order. Perhaps we can start with Nicolady Tam, who's a representative for the LGBT Faculty Network, then go to Tracy Everbach, who is a representative for the Women's Faculty Network, then go to Rachita Sharma, who represents the International Faculty Network, and then I will close out so I don't, commandeer this entire session. So Nicolady, if you wouldn't mind starting.
Yes, I am the director for the LGBT group. So it is a very diverse in terms of different affinity, and our group is an open group and all inclusive. Which means that you don't have to be an LGBT faculty to join it. And faculty such as allies can join it too. And in fact, there's faculty who does that, who support the cause of the LGBT can join the group. Even though sometimes other members may feel uncomfortable, but I think that legally, I think we are required to be all inclusive and not excluding anybody. So we have meetings, regular meetings, and for us, in some ways, there are a number of different groups that can cause a little bit confusion because there's a faculty senate subcommittee on the status of LGBT faculty, which is a completely separate group, which is faculty senate appointed group, and the members has to be elected, whereas this group, the LGBT Faculty Network group, is open and you don't have to be elected to be a member. And then we also have an LGBT study group, which is the academic group for the minor study for students. And so those are the faculty members who are teaching classes in the LGBT minor, which is separate from our group because our group is more like a mentoring group for faculty success. And we have different meetings, and the discussions of the meeting ranges in different subjects depending on the request from different members. It can range from, the perception of LGBT members, not only from peers, but also students, especially when you're teaching, when students ask certain question, and it can go both ways too, meaning that students that may have different perception of LGBT faculty, and there are also LGBT students that you have to have certain knowledge and sensitivity in order to respond to their questions. Okay, so those are in some ways, it's a mentoring group that we sit down together and talk about what are the best practice and what are the best way to make everybody feel inclusive. And because a lot of things are not so obvious that it is not too intuitive. For instance, even in an LGBT group itself, there are, by its name, there are subgroups. The lesbian, gay, transgender, and bisexual. And we also add on the queer to LGBTQ plus, which is the other one that doesn't fall in that category. And there are different issues with these different groups, such as one of the biggest issue is being out. And you have to respect them, that some people may not want to be out, but if you out them, that becomes a problem. So those are the very sensitive issues that we talk about, and so that we can help each other, so that we can create a much more inclusive environment for the faculty and for the students. So recently, the last meeting that we work on is the climate survey. We started on drafting some questions for the climate survey, even though UNT already has just conducted a climate survey study, and the results are supposed to be out soon. But we're not sure if the questions are specifically addressing LGBT faculty members, especially when I'm also on the Faculty Senate subcommittee on the status of LGBT. Technically, we don't really have any data, factual data to report to. And those are the things that we would like to obtain so that we can assess where we are at. And so that's why we think that the climate survey would help us so much better by identifying where we are, specific to questions that are related to LGBT issues. And we have also reached out to the other groups, such as faculty of color and also women's faculty group, and join force to create the questions. And even though there may be some questions that each group may want to address, but I think that it would serve as a template to start, asking some question and getting some data so that we can have some plan of action after we identify what the issues are.
Thank you very much. Tracy?
Okay. Thank you, Nikki. That was really helpful. First, I just want to say welcome to UNT. We are so happy to have you. you know, we're having weird times now, as we all know. So this is the first time I've ever done a faculty orientation over Zoom. I'm sure everyone else is the same too. But anyway, my name's Tracy Everbach, and I'm the head of the Women's Faculty Network, which we're an advocacy group and support group for all women faculty on campus, as well as men if they would like to, you know, seek out our services. We actually do have one man on our leadership team, which is great. And we do collaborate a lot with the other affinity groups. I mean, we have collaborated with Black Faculty Network, with LGBTQ, with International. So we consider ourselves a very open intersectional group. Some of our members are members of other groups as well. As a woman identifying faculty member, you will get emails from us. So we send out emails when we have events. And I'm happy to say that our first event coming up is going to be on, oh wait, I gotta look on my calendar, September 17th. We are having a forum with the Vice President of Research and the Associate Vice President of Research, talking about problems or concerns that women may have with doing research, and resources and that sort of thing. So we're planning a bunch of Zoom events for this fall. Usually we try to have in-person meetings, and bring in people that might give you advice and help about different resources and options on campus. But you know, unfortunately we can't do that this semester, but we're going to have some Zoom seminars. Also, another thing we do is we will individually advocate for women faculty when asked. We have accompanied people to meetings with their chairs and deans and provosts when they haven't felt comfortable enough going by themselves. So, and we can help you with those kinds of things. Of course, you're all new faculty and you're going to be incredibly successful, so you won't need our help in anything like that. You'll all be doing great. But yeah, we do consider ourselves advocates and here to serve you and to help you. So be prepared. All of your emails will be added to our list. The Office of Faculty Success will give us your email, and you will get emails from us. And now I guess is Rashida next?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Rashida.
Hey, Tracy. Thank you. Hi, everyone. And much like Tracy and Nicola said, welcome to UNT. We're so excited you're here. I'm almost getting nostalgic thinking about my new faculty orientation a few years ago. And while yours is definitely in a different forum, I'm glad that you're getting access to the different resources. I'm here to tell you just a little bit about the International Faculty Network. Much like the other groups, we're also one of the affinity groups here on campus that is supported by the Office for Faculty Success. And we work collaboratively with the other groups as well. Many of you might have multiple identities that intersect in different ways. And so you might find yourself being a part of maybe 2 or 3 or all of the groups, depending on what your interests and your needs and your identities are. With the International Faculty Network, really, it was started about 4 years ago with the intent to just make a kind of collaborative, supportive community for faculty who identify as being international faculty or their allies. One of the questions I used to get a lot when we first started was, I don't know if I'm international. Am I international? And I said, that's entirely up to you. You identify that. It doesn't mean you have to be born in a certain place. It doesn't depend on your visa status. It just depends on you and, you know, your personal identity in terms of whether it's international. That could just mean that you're interested in, you know, learning more about cultures. We love food at the International Faculty Network, so there are definitely lots of conversations about food at most of our get-togethers, which typically involve food, as you might imagine. We have monthly lunches that we used to hope, somebody else, yes, Tracy, we love food too. We have monthly lunches that we used to host on campus pre-COVID. Obviously, COVID has changed a lot of that. We also typically do an end of the semester celebration because trust me, you'll need a celebration when the first semester ends. So we like to all get together and have a nice dinner. We love meeting your families, partners, kids. And so typically at the end of the semester, we invite you to bring all of them to our end of the semester celebration. See, I've got like evaluations on my mind right now. We also try to promote a little bit of work-life balance as much as possible, knowing that we're faculty that pretty much work around the clock, answering emails and things. So in the past, we've done some yoga sessions. We've tried to do some resource-based sessions, based on interest. For example, we find that a lot of our international faculty are interested in hosting study abroad. And so talking about how that process works, putting you in touch with different resources on campus, because I'm sure all of you are feeling a tad bit overwhelmed by all the information that's being thrown your way today during the orientation. So we're happy to be a link to other resources and just provide overall mentorship as you kind of settle in and make UNT your home. So if you're interested in being on our listserv, you're welcome to just send us an email. Send an email to UNTIFN, that's International Faculty Network, at unt.edu. So that's just UNTIFN at unt.edu. Unlike some of the other groups, we don't get a list where people identify as being international because, like I said, it just depends on the person's identity. So you get to self-select your way into this group. And just send me that email, or you can just send me an email at rachita.sharma@unt.edu, and I'm happy to get you involved. So that is all I have for y'all. I see that Tracy also shared her email for the WFN in the chat. So please feel free to reach out to any of us about getting involved and getting the support you need to make this a great, great tenure for you, but also just a great semester starting. All right, Tony.
All right.
It's all you now.
I think, with the Black Faculty Network, we typically view the seeds of our group as connecting to the establishment of the Black Women's Initiative, which took place in 2013, largely by the efforts of Annette Lawrence, who is in the College of Visual Arts, and Beverly Davenport, who is in the Department of Anthropology. And the Black Women's Initiative was around for quite some time, about 3 years, but then a collection of Black faculty decided that we needed a larger sort of umbrella group to house concerns, interests for all Black faculty on campus. That was in 2016. I was a part of that effort. Chandra Carey was a part of that effort. And there also have a number of faculty who have since left. Jemima Young, Meredith Clark, Michael Thompson. We were all part of that collective group who went about signing up for or trying to establish the Black Faculty Network. I would say in practice, it still functions, I would say, largely as a Black Women's Initiative. The membership of the Black Faculty Network is largely consists of Black women faculty. So, there still are a lot of initiatives within the group that focus on the concerns of Black women faculty in particular. We have programming that is targeted in that area. And, we for a very long time had a conference specifically centered on the concerns of Black women faculty. And so that's still a pretty large focus of the group. In terms of what we do, we largely focus on issues. We provide career mentorship, and we also provide what we call psychosocial support. The career mentorship largely is provided via meetings that we have monthly. We also have programming throughout the year to address particular faculty needs and concerns, areas of interest. Last year, we had a program that we called The Politics of Tenure and Promotion, in which we talked about some of the unsaid norms of the tenure process and how racial bias can creep into that process. It was a conversation led by a number of senior faculty on campus, but also senior lecturers and on campus too, non-tenure track faculty to sort of discuss their relative experiences. I thought it was powerful because some of those, experiences were successful experiences, and others were experiences where you sort of saw some of the challenges that people faced. And so we thought that was pretty informative for people who participated in that. We also have a writing group. Before COVID, we would meet for our writing groups and write together for a good hour using Pomodoro sessions and things of that nature. And we also have an online Facebook group, which is an invite, as a closed group, but you can request to join, and we always will let you in. And that's basically a way where we can provide a system of accountability for each other. So beginning of the week, I'll say, hey, what are you guys working on? Everyone will disclose what they're working on. And then the next week I'll say, hey, how did you do? What did you accomplish? And, it's not really a system where, you're expected to say, I hit the nail on the head every single week, right? Because that's unrealistic. But it's a way that you can kind of keep tabs on your writing process and make sure you're still staying on course. So that's another thing that we do for career mentorship. In terms of psychosocial support, very much like Rachida mentioned, we have our beginning of the semester gatherings, which are intended to try to get people together and have a moment of levity before we begin the semester. Throughout the semester, we have other social events, mostly very short ones. We started doing coffee chats during the week, during the months, during the semester last year. And then we have an end of the semester social event. So that's largely intended to kind of address those feelings of isolation you may feel often when you're perhaps the only person of color or Black faculty within your departments. And then lastly, we've increasingly taken on more of an advocacy role where we've kind of been pushing for greater, for issues of equity. We've been, meeting with the provost fairly regularly to voice our concerns about certain things that we think could be improved at the university. We particularly believe UNT is well positioned to be a leader in these areas because we do have an incredibly diverse undergraduate population, and she's been very receptive to that. They have an equity plan that they're working on, and so our objective at this point is just to continue to, encourage them to be accountable and to stay on top of those plans, and to push them on other areas that we think are important with respect to equity, racial ethnic equity in particular on campus. So I think that's it. In terms of email, our email is blackfaculty@unt.edu. It's pretty straightforward. What I'll do now is just open it up. If anyone has a question or any questions related to any of the affinity groups, now's the time. Everybody's shy.
What are other affinity groups that are on campus that aren't represented here in this session?
I know there is La Colectiva, and they're an affinity group that is focused largely on the concerns of women faculty of color.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're active right now or not.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Yeah.
So, I'm not sure.
I think beyond that, I think that's all that I can think of. Anyone else think of any?
I think those are the only affinity groups, but there is also the non-tenure track faculty mentoring network.
Right.
And I think they're having a separate breakout session at the same time, if I'm right. But that's a great group to be involved in if you're interested in learning more about pedagogy. They do a lot of trainings, as well as just kind of info sessions with non-tenure track faculty. So if you happen to be one, then you may find that one a useful one. I can't think of their contact information. Tracy or Tony, do either one of you know?
Offhand, I can't think.
It's probably on the faculty success website. And if you see Asia said that she did get a invitation from the La Colectiva.
Oh,
So
okay.
I guess they are active. And she
Yeah.
said there's also a writing group. Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, but the Office for Faculty Success is a good page or website to go to if you need to reach out to any of us. I think all of the affinity groups are listed on there along with their main contact person. So that's definitely one that I encourage you to check out.
Anybody else?
There's also, I think, just a general writing group that for faculty that meets. They're not an affinity group, but they're a writing group. So
yeah, they were. I forget the room, but I remember them having a particular room that they would meet every so often, or it was just an open room from what I recall. Right?
Yeah. I mean, my advice to you as new faculty would be to come to some of the meetings of these affinity groups because they're really beneficial for meeting people outside of your own department. And you might find research partners. I mean, I found research partners through coming to these affinity groups that, like, I'm a journalism professor and I met a kinesiology professor and we both found out that we like to research sports and media. So now we collaborate on stuff. And so you just never know who you meet and maybe somebody who you can do a really interesting project with.
Absolutely. Plus, I'd say that's also good for self-care to have some friendships outside of your department.
Yes.
It makes the process a lot more fun.
Yes.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Tracy.
Yeah, and just somebody you can talk to, you know, who the things that you might not want to say to somebody in your department because they're on your promotion and tenure committee or whatever, you know, that you might want to say to somebody else outside your department who can give you advice or just be a friend.
Agreed.
So we have about a minute and 40 seconds. Anybody have any closing remarks they want to make? Since it seems like no one has any questions.
We hope to see some of you because you know, we're here to help. That's why all of us got involved in this, right? In these affinity groups, because we want to help and support and advocate for you.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would say, you know, our experience is that in a lot of instances we've had faculty who initially did not participate, and they started having those feelings of isolation, or they started having issues within their department, and then they sought us out. And I think it's really helpful to Tracy's point, if you can go ahead and sort of at least build some connections with whatever affinity group you're drawn to, because that can kind of help you navigate these departments a lot better. It's much harder for us to kind of play the advocacy role if that's what our, you know, the respective group does. If we're just kind of coming into or being made aware of the issue. And, you know, so I would definitely encourage you, if there's a group that you are drawn to go ahead and contact that group and try to, as Tracy points out, participate, at least, even if it's just showing up for a meeting or two, you know, I think that's helpful.
Yeah, prioritize your self-care as you're starting out. There's going to be so much that'll require time. It'll be important to have something that can also be part of your self-care instead of just focusing on research and classes and students and all that.
Very well said.
I also want to add that it is important to have a mentor or have someone
Yes.
help you with navigating the tenuring process. Because even though there are written rules, but it is the unwritten rules that matters the most.
It's
And
true.
so these groups are the best way to find a mentor, even though I know that some department has official mentors and while other departments don't. I think you can have mentor within your department and also mentor outside your department to give you different insight too.
Yep. Good point. I think we're out of time.
Yeah, that's what it's saying. Usually it just kind of takes us out immediately, but maybe they added a little bit of time or something. Not sure.
Huh.
I think we can click on the leave room button that's on the
And that'll
bottom
do
right.
it?
Yeah, and that'll do it. That'll return everyone to the main room. So there should be a blue leave room button.
Okay.
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Welcome again.